Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and this week has been absolutely ridiculous. Julie at Peekaboo Rose was talking about things that brought her joy lately, so I thought that pretty accurately describes this collection of odds and ends that I've been working on this week, which is lovely. One of those things is that Denny Mystic did a candle for creativity. I'll link their videos down below. So I stole that idea outright, and I've got one that I haven't lit yet, but I will do this afternoon or this evening. But I also made an oil, and I made it with dandelion. Whoops, I can't lift things off of this fabric that is very creased. So clearly I didn't iron it, but you know, just pretend that that adds character and we'll be fine. Oh, for goodness sake, things are falling all over the place. Dandelion, bee balm, calendula, rosemary, and St. John's wort. So I had these cards out to spend some time thinking about them. Also, this ended up on the top, goldenrod, and it has a cute little ladybug on it. Ladybugs love goldenrod, so if you want more ladybugs in your yard, plant more native wildflowers. So I have been using this deck, which I'll put that to the side. So I made this little oil, and oh, I'm so scattered today. Sorry. It's been an absolutely ridiculous week. At work, in the world, I'm done. So I'm hibernating this week. Except when I go for a walk to, you know, say hello to the ducks before it gets too hot in the day. Anyway, I've got this oil simmering now. Not actually simmering, but you know, brewing, whatever. I'll put it on my shelf. I've been using the deck I made that I've talked about a lot lately, so I won't rehash it again, but it's just plants that are local to me that mean something to me. So I should go see how the box elders are doing. Cattails. The cattails are growing. They've sprouted. It's very exciting. So is the buffalo berry. The silverberry is flowering right now. My chickweed has popped up again. That happens every year. It's a weed. Saskatoons are, the flowers have died back and they're baby fruits. So yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with this deck and with the plants and just, you know, plant energy and that sort of thing, and the plants that mean something to me. And then the other decks I've been using are the Sacred Bee ones. The Journey and the Wisdom. Wait, Journey is the tarot deck. Yes, that's correct. I had to think about that for a second. Anyway, that is that one. Got that yesterday. It was very dramatic. Yeah, creativity related spread. So, all, you know, a little over the top, but oh well. And this deck has just been, I mean, they're both very colorful and vibrant and full of life. And the world is on fire and people are dying all over the place, and wildfire season has started again, and Gaza practically doesn't exist anymore, and so, you know, like, the whole world is stressing me out every day. It's just an excessive amount of way too much. So I actually have been off social media for most of the last 2 weeks. Every time I go on it, it's sort of like, you know, I don't know if you meditate, but if you do, you know, when you have a thought and you notice the thought, like a cloud in the sky, or like I usually think of leaves on a river, and you just sort of notice the leaf and then it carries on its way. You do that with thoughts. I've been doing that with my social media use, because sometimes I will just open it automatically on my phone, which I don't want to do. So then as soon as I notice that I'm doing that, I'll close it. Just leave it alone. And so I've logged in a couple of times, but I try and stay off of it as much as possible. I will check in with, you know, what's going on in the world, because I do like being an informed citizen and whatnot, but the relentless, hysterical, and outrageously violent sort of nature of the information coming at you on social media is just doing my head in. So had to take a break from that. a bit, and I think I will just use it more intentionally going forward. I'll be on there less. Anyway, that was a tangent. I've been using the Sacred Bee decks to cheer myself up and deal with the chaos of, you know, life. It is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. None of it makes any sense. So that's my tarot selection for the day. My book stuff for the day. I started reading an audiobook called My Name is Amelia Del Valle by Isabella Allende. And it is really good so far. I've been reading very little. And everything's falling all over. Again. And so I just haven't felt like, you know, taking in more information at a speed that I don't control. Well, I mean, you know you can control audiobooks, but still. So I didn't listen to any audiobooks for like 2 weeks, and I hardly read anything except for a couple things in this book, British Romantic Poetry. But I'm really enjoying My Name is Amelia Del Valle, and it's like a historical novel of a woman who's a reporter before women were like allowed to be reporters, so she has to write under a male pseudonym, and then she goes to report on the war in Chile. And that's as far as I've gotten. But I really like her. The other characters are good fun too. I love Allende's writing. It's so much fun. And yeah, they're like my comfort books, even though they're not, you know, cozy comfort books, like, you know, a cozy genre or whatever. I guess it's technically historical fiction of some sort. But it's a comfort read. And then I did read some of this one. So I'm partway through Wordsworth's Great Ode, which is about, which ode? One of them. Imitations of Immortality, different thing, from Recollections of Early Childhood. It's really interesting. Wordsworth is not my favorite of the Romantic authors, but I like him, because I like all of them, except, well, I was going to say except for Blake, but that's not really true. Anyway. It's kind of a weird essay in that he spends a lot of time talking about other like political things happening and ideas about progress and all this sort of thing, but it's also kind of interesting, so I don't mind that one. It's not my favorite so far, but I don't mind it. Romantic poetry and the romantic novel was pretty interesting because there was a great sort of tug-of-war between what constituted a novel, what was a novel superior or inferior to, like, how did it rank in the hierarchy of literary genres. And it's just sort of a hilarious conversation because we still have these sorts of conversations about which, you know, media are superior or inferior to others. You know, television is, you know, slightly below movies, and video games are slightly below television, but they all can be storytelling media. And so it was interesting to read the early 1800s version of that conversation within just written media, because people did not have good opinions about novels once upon a time. It's very entertaining to read that one. There was another one called Thinking in Verse. So there was an idea that versification was like too easy. Like, you could be a bad versifier. What was the word they used for people who were not poets but just wrote like doggerel type verse? I can't remember. There was a word for it. Anyway, this was interesting because for some people, like Byron, saying things in verse was so easy he could practically do it in his sleep. Like, he didn't have to work at meter or rhyme. I mean, he did, presumably, when he was younger, but by the time he was more experienced, he just knew how to do that, you know, inside out and backwards. And then there were different ideas of what made a line of verse good, and now that there was such a thing as a novel in prose, was it just verse that made it poetry? Fun coffee and fit break. Anyway, there were all sorts of debates along those lines of what constituted poetry. If it was in verse, did that automatically make it poetry? Many people said no. So yeah, that was interesting. And then I think I talked about this last time. Yeah, I did. Oh, there's my bookmark. I was wondering where that went. Alright, so that was my reading for the week. The book selection. Oh yeah, I went to this. Yes, this is one of those Swedish washcloths with strawberries. This is Lee phrase is, if it sounds French, it's because it sounds French. It's because it's Michif, the Métis language. And I went to the Métis government in Alberta, whose name I can't remember. They have a Michif name now. They ran a plant relationship walk in one of the big parks in Calgary, and so I went to that. And it was so much fun and so fascinating. It was like 3 hours, but you spend the first part of the hour in a circle. Everybody introduces themselves, talks about where they're from, where their name is from, that sort of thing. So you get a sort of which places everybody's connected to. And then the woman who ran this circle talked a bit about how to be in relationships with plants, what it means to be in a good relationship with plant. And then we did a little sort of loop around just a little part of the park. That part probably only took about an hour to an hour and a half out of the 3 hours. And learned about some of the plants that she's in relationships with, and she talked about a couple of examples of plants from Europe who've come over and are in healthy relationships with the native plants, and how to use that as a model for how to be in right relationships with Indigenous people here, because I'm not. My family is white settler colonial family, and then we hit the closing circle where people talked about, you know, the things they learned, if anything surprised them, their favorite parts, that sort of thing. And it was a really beautiful day. I mean, it was an actual beautiful day. Yeah, the weather was gorgeous, but it was a beautiful event, really well done. And I hope they keep doing them forever. It's so good. Like, it's basic plant information, but it's also basic plant relationship information, which people really need, I think. And they had these that you could take. They had tons of like brochures and stuff you could take as well if you needed like a intro to gardening and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was the Métis government did that, and it was so much fun. And then I did more arts and crafts because it's been that sort of a week, and I tell you, I'm losing my mind. So every morning this week, because it's too hot for me by midday, so it's up into the 30s by midday, which I don't know what that is in American, I'm sorry, but it's hot. It's too hot for me. It might not be, like, somebody from Florida probably wouldn't think it's too hot, but keep in mind that I am Canadian. So for me, it's too hot, and I can't cope. It is a dry heat at least, so we have that going for us. On the other hand, it's wildfire season, so maybe we don't have that going for us. The point of all that is to say, if I want to go for a walk, I have to go at 7 o'clock in the morning, because otherwise it's just, nope, I am indoors with my little struggling portable air conditioning unit that is not having a good day. And yeah, so I got some more wider variety of pens to play with. I'm not very good at drawing in pens. I mean, I'm not very good at drawing, period, but I'm just getting back into it. And I've never used pens a lot before, so I made this accordion book, a concertina book, they're sometimes called. This was the first thing I did. There's a willow tree. I was sitting on a bench here at a park, and I certainly discovered things about the differences between composition and pen and pencil, because there were certain things that I really should have done first, like the leaves that are supposed to be in front but really aren't, because in pencil you can do that and just erase things. So yeah, that was a fun learning experience. I met this duck for the first time. I'd never seen a common merganser. I didn't even know that was a type of duck. Maybe they've always been here and I've just never paid enough attention. And then this morning there was another willow tree across the river, and I just sort of did a light and dark, sort of just the contours and values of the tree. And then I met this squirrel. These are the only two animals I've drawn since probably junior high, so you know, be nice. But I met this squirrel, and it's supposed to be an eastern gray squirrel, but his entire body was black and his tail was bright red. So I should really do him in color at some point, because he was not gray at all. He was a very strange looking squirrel. I've only started seeing that sort of coloration this year, but then I never know if it's because I never paid attention before, or what. Is that a new development, or do I just need to open my eyes more? I don't know. Could be either. So this is my little tuck it into my pocket in the morning, and off I go sketchbook. And then I've got this one. So I went to a data conference this week. Oh yeah, first this one. So this is a card that was from the first version of the tarot deck that I made, the Prairie Herbalist Tarot, that I decided not to go with because I wanted every card to be its own individual plant, and this is just a scene of many plants. I think it's somewhere in BC, I can't remember, but it was a very mossy tree at the edge of the bottom of the tree here in front of a river, and I just liked how the light was coming in and just touching everything a little bit. So I started this. This is not done. This part is more done. This part I got stuck on because I was looking at the moss going, how do you draw moss? I have no idea how to draw moss. So I did. Now this is not helpful for drawing moss, but I did a value study of the this guy just in charcoal, and I'll probably keep working on this and just keep putting more detail in it and develop it more, just, you know, for fun. But it was very helpful in that I realized that this area needs to be just so much darker. So progress, things to work on. And then I found a little pigeon feather, so I was playing with that. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that one. And then, oh yeah, I was at a conference, what was it called? Data for something about using data for good, but I can't remember what the conference was. Anyway, I started to draw my pencil case and then it was done. We left. I started to draw my bacon and grapes for breakfast, but then I ate them. So that was not good. Well, it was good. This I also didn't finish. I can't remember why. This I finished because I had a cup of tea at one point. I was really bored at one point and couldn't think of what to draw, so I drew the blending stump and the kneaded eraser and the sharpener. I actually kind of like the scribbly line work in there. This is terrible because you know how when you put a tea bag into a cup of tea, the tea does this swirly thing emanating from the tea? I should have taken a picture of that and drawn it from the picture because I couldn't remember what it looked like clearly. And then I stuck in my conference badge. So that was the notebook that I took to the conference because it's so little. This is still pretty little, but you know, less little. What else was I working on? Oh yeah, I finally did the charcoal poppy leaves. So I was doing somewhere. Where did I stick it in here? Oh yeah, this poppy leaf that's like tissue paper thin. And I had been doodling with that in pencil and wanted to try it in graphite. This one's my favorite, where it's like just slightly blended in certain places. That's the one I like the most. Didn't work on that. Already talked about this. Discovered that, oh, it's getting all charcoaly. I also discovered that some types of brush pens see through paper much more than other brands of brush pens. Because this is the Tina Moderi picture that was in a book I talked about at some point. I've got a book of her photographs here that I'll get into in a second. But she did a photograph of just a door and then a hallway and then another door. And the story of movement between them was so fascinating. So I started doing a value study, and then somebody on a Discord group that I'm part of suggested using just brush pens and even fewer tones. So that's what that is. That took about like 90 seconds to do, which is why it looks like a mess. Whoops. Actually, I'm gonna leave that in there as a note to myself to get back to that. Cranberries. Oh yeah, I started this. I haven't finished it. This was just me doodling another card that didn't make it into the final Prairie Herbalist Tarot. But I kind of like this part of the funky leaf and the cranberries. This one got a bit messy because I was just playing. And then I did some swatches of, so I went back to the art store that is going out of business and everything's on sale, which is very dangerous. So I did some swatches of these pencil crayons, and I can't remember the last time I've used pencil crayons. It's been a while, because this is the other set I have, which looks kind of similar, but is much harder, and I don't really like using them, which is why I've almost never worked with them. These ones are so, like, they feel like butter. They're so creamy. So I didn't know that some pencil crayons have a hard core and some have a soft core, and these ones have a soft core. You learn something new every day. Also discovered that there is such a thing as a matte graphite pencil, which, if it's ever annoyed you that regular graphite pencils get shiny, these ones very much do not. It is amazing, and I will be going back to get some more because I love them. It's just like they look the same until you turn it in the light and only one of them is shiny. I don't know if that's at all showing up on camera. Oh yeah, and then I got some white pencils as well. And more vine charcoal because it was on sale. And this is, let's watch that, I think in the beginning of this book. Yeah, that's this one that I haven't put fixative on yet, so you can still see it's all like smudgy. But it is gorgeous, and this one's my favorite. I love that one. Okay, so those are all the art things that I've been doing, and then the other books that I kind of read, skimmed through, are a couple of art books. So this is the Landscape Painter's Workbook, Essential Studies in Shape, Composition, and Color. And I didn't actually read the whole thing. Mostly I got it out of the library for the pictures. Because it was that sort of week, and I'm gonna have to look up Hester Berry because she's got several pictures in here that I really love. I love the movement of her brush strokes. They're fascinating. She communicates a lot with very wide brush strokes somehow. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. This is another one that I thought was the use of light in that. Like, it's a very boxy cloud, but it's gorgeous. I love it. Ooh, I like the use of color in this one too. Sunset light over the Grand Canyon. Very pretty. This one I just liked. It's like, it's trees or something, and then maybe a person in red. I'm not really sure what's happening here, but it seems to be a reflection. And I really like how abstract it is. I'd like to play with doing things along those lines at some point. This just reminds me of Saskatchewan. I don't know where Kim Matthews Wheaton is from, but it feels like Saskatchewan. So does this, actually. Winter Fields. Yeah, very Saskatchewan. This also feels a bit Saskatchewan when the days are short. That's definitely a winter day in the early morning sort of photo or painting. What else did I like? That one's kind of interesting. Oh, this is another Hester Berry one. That's why I like it. And then this saturated Rich and Dark's example. Excessive Moderation, it's called, which just is so cool. So yeah, I was having fun looking through this. It does have some like just lessons on exercises you can do if you want, and then lessons on different types of painting styles. And then the last book that I got from the library, which weighs a ton, is this Tina Modotti book. And this is a book of her photographs. So I will, at some point, read through at least some of this beginning stuff about her life. But this is another one that I mostly got for the pictures. Let's be honest. Just like the texture in that one. That's the next one that I liked. Hang on. Oh, here's the doors one. I don't know if that all doesn't quite all fit in the frame. She's got another one of stairs. It's so minimal, but it tells a story somehow. I don't know how she does that. Because it's a very simple, deceptively simple, really, photo. But it's so interesting. And then all the rest of these are like, I like this one a lot. I like this one a lot too. Stairs through arches. She's got a few other ones with arches. I assume this is someplace in Mexico. It just, yeah, it was relaxing to look through this after, well, during this week, because it's been so silly. Interior of a church, that's cool. Scrunched up tinfoil. And then she also has some that are portraits. Oh, here's one of, oh, she has a few masks too. This one is of a cornfield. This one is another of my favorites of hers because it also tells an incredible story. So does this one. The people's hands while they're working or resting, as the case may be. And then, oh yeah, this one I really liked. Labor. Of somebody building, I assume doing construction work of some kind. This is a woman with a flag. Oh. She was living in Mexico at the same time as, in the early 20s, no, yeah, 1928, so this was taken. Same time as Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. She photographed some of Rivera's murals. I think there are a couple in here, but I can't remember where. Oh well. She does do some portraits as well. It's just all so interesting. So yeah, I've been really enjoying looking through her work because a lot of it's very simple, but also very moving and beautiful. So yeah, that was my trying to find bits of joy throughout a bonkers week, and I hope you were able to do the same. And if you do, and feel so inclined to comment about it or make a video about it, then let me know. And I'd love to hear what's bringing people joy, because the world is literally on fire at the moment. So I think we can all use a little extra joy where we can find it. So that was my week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.